Welcome to This Is Jen, episode 43, coming to you on the eve of the United States presidential election. We have many important topics to discuss today. We will talk about the election. We will talk about voting and people telling you to vote, celebrities getting naked to tell you to vote. I don't know why Shady's laughing at such a serious matter. We'll also talk about sexy Halloween costumes. There's a sexy tree costume. A sexy tree costume. And look, I don't care if you're watching this way after Halloween. Maybe you're discovering me in January of 2021. If so, hello from the past. These are universal truths. This absolutely is going to apply to everything you're going through. Tell me everything's better in January 2021. You know, maybe you're finding this in like 2025 and like hello from hell if that's the case. Anyway, if you are listening on audio, I can't emphasize enough how much you go ahead and look this one up on YouTube.
Yes.
For the full experience.
Please.
For you.
This is for you.
And the easiest thing to do is Google Fulweiler 43. That is the episode number. Or don't Google it. Put that into YouTube. Fulweiler, Fulwiler 43. I can't even fully explain what you just might get a bigger picture. You might get a full picture. Oh, look at my hair. I do want to remind you that we now do full weekly episodes on Patreon. We've always done full episodes on Patreon, but they are now weekly. So every week, fresh new episode. I go into some really personal territory, just some things going on with family and in my personal life that I just don't want out there on Google, on, sitting on YouTube forever. So, and I just talk about things that I've learned and things that helped. So these are now weekly on Patreon, and you can sign up for that. Patreon.com/thisisjen. And of course, we have the wonderful Shady Ray producing of all the positive things that I've gotten feedback with the newly relaunched podcast. Shady's presence is one of the big ones. I just love being able to introduce her to you guys. Shady and I have been friends for years, so this is wonderful. I want to begin. We'll get to the whole voting election thing in a minute. And by the way, actually, okay, I'm just going to open up about a little behind the scenes. The way that I am dressed. Okay, you know what, audio listeners? I'll just tell you. But if I tell you, you have to eventually look at my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Hit the subscribe button. I'm dressed like a hot dog now, and this isn't a Halloween thing. This is related to a voting thing. I'm trying to make important points about voting, and right before we started the show, I decided that it would be better to lead with this first topic that is not related to being dressed like a hot dog. So now I'm dressed like a hot dog for no reason. And we are filming in a studio. I am facing a window that faces the public, the outside world. And I will have you know that a very nice looking family in their minivan just drove by this window. You see them do a double take, hit the brakes. And while I was doing show prep, I forgot I was dressed like this because there's a lot of technology going on in this room. Shady and I are very busy setting up to film each episode. And so they hit the brakes, they look at me, and I'm just like, what do you, mind your own business? Like, what? And then I'm like, I'm dressed like a hot dog. And so these people, and keep in mind, this studio is very brightly lit, and it is an overcast day outside. So I can't tell you how bright it is from being able to see in here. So I've got actually right now, as I am speaking to you, there's a car driving by and they are slowing down and they are looking at me. So look, there's no need for me to be dressed like a hot dog for this first Jensplaining take, but it's kind of hard to get out of this outfit. So I'm just going to do it. This is related. We're going to get to this in a minute. Okay. Shady.
Yes.
Have you heard about the Brainstorm green needle thing?
No.
Okay. And if you haven't heard about this, just get ready. I'm about to blow your mind on a level. And like me being dressed like a hot dog is only going to add to this. It's only going to add to this. I'm about to play some audio. And I want you to listen for the word. It's only one clip. This audio says green needle. Okay. So I want you to hear green needle. Okay. So let's take a listen. Did you hear? What did you hear?
I heard green needle.
Okay. Now I'm going to play a second clip that says brainstorm. Okay. So I want you to listen and then see if you hear the word brainstorm. Okay. Let's listen.
Yeah.
That's the same clip.
What?
I'm sorry to y'all. I'm the audio listeners. You're probably. I'm sorry.
Don't tell me that.
I shouldn't have screamed. I mean, I'm sure I just fritzed out all the levels, but it just freaks me out.
That was the same clip.
That's the same clip.
How?
If it wouldn't mess up all these wires, I would show you my computer. Hand on my Bible app, I just played the same clip. This just freaks me out to no end. Because, I mean, it would be one thing if it were like brainstorm and schmainstorm. You know, it's like, well, okay, maybe I'm just hearing that differently. But no, it's like, these are green needle and brainstorm. How are we hearing different things? These are two totally different words. It's freaking me out.
How do they do this?
I don't know.
Who figures this out,
a sorcerer. Don't tell me. Don't come at me with it's science. No, this is a sorcerer. A sorcerer did this. Now, look, here's something that we should all think about. One of the reasons, God gives us the Judeo-Christian rule book of life, of how you should act, to save us from making fools of ourselves. It's for us. And again, when I came into Christianity from lifelong atheism, when I tried living by the Christian moral code, and for example, the whole humility thing, I was like, well, I don't want to have low self-esteem. I had all of these weird ideas about what that meant. When I actually tried living by that moral code, I was like, well, this makes life better. This makes life a lot better to just do what this ancient tradition tells me to do. I was living like a Christian, and I didn't even know if I believed in God. I was still hanging out in atheist forums online. But I was like, this works. I mean, just following this system works. And one of the things that it preaches is humility. And again, that doesn't, as we learn in Proverbs, that does not mean thinking less of yourself. It means thinking of yourself less. And that's Dr. Phil, not Proverbs, but still a very important point. So it doesn't mean having low self-esteem. It just means recognizing that you don't have it all figured out. And God is God and you are not God. And just don't be so full of yourself is basically what real humility looks like. And see, that saves you from hitting Jen Fulweiler's DMs on the gram being like, Jen, you're a fool. They're actually, what they do is they play Brainstorm first and then Green Needle and then Brainstorm. So you're just an idiot. See, but then you look like an idiot calling me an idiot because you don't understand this is the same clip that was put together by a wizard. So you're missing it, calling me out. And that's why we should all follow traditional Judeo-Christian morality and just be humble, because that saves you from being a fool in my DMs. Yes. And I think that's an important lesson. But here's the other lesson. As we head into this tumultuous election season, or the election, actually, thank God, the season's about to end. As we head into this election, think about this. If you were to be walking down the street and just heard that sound. Let's say you heard it in a song. Someone should do a remix of that. Oh. Wouldn't that be cool? Like the dance remix, Yeah. So you could be at the club like, yeah, the Brainstorm. This is my jam. This is me. Wow, this episode, me dancing like a hot dog. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really did not intend for this to unravel at this level. So you're at the club. Is this how people,
I don't know.
Is this how people dance at the club?
So. That's how Donald Trump dances.
Right. I'm gonna get on TikTok with these moves.
Oh no.
So you're at the club, not dressed like a hot dog. Pretend. For this whole take, by the way, you have to pretend. It is essential that you pretend that I'm not dressed like a hot dog. And one of the reasons I didn't take it off is because it would mess up my hair. That's how vain I am about my hair. That I'm like, I'd rather
be a hot dog,
look like the Oscar Mayer Wiener Man than be on my podcast with bad hair. That's how seriously I take this. So you're at the club and your jam comes on and you're like, it's Brainstorm. And your friend is like, no, this is Green Needle. Like, this is my jam. Like, and they're like, I know what's the same jam, but it's Brainstorm. Like, no, this is
Green Needle.
No, this is Kygo's Green Needle remix. Like, what are you talking about? And then you end up getting in an argument. And then it just turns out like a mischievous sorcerer caused this whole thing by creating a clip. It's the same clip. You're just hearing different things. So in this election season, there is so much of turning other people into enemies and being like, that person over there, like they don't know anything. They're only advocating for all the bad and horrible things. And I'm just glad that I'm on the side of truth and goodness. And I'm just glad I'm 100%. All I want is peace and love for the world, unlike the bad people over here. And the thing is, we're just missing so much. If we can't even hear the same word in a TikTok sound clip, because it started on TikTok, this whole thing. If we can't even hear the same word in a sound clip, then how on earth are we ever going to expect to get on the same pages about super complicated issues like how do you legislate morality? Even if we agree on what's right and wrong, how do you put that into law? What should healthcare look like? Anyone who says that has a simple solution is trying to sell you something. These are really, really complicated issues. And if we can't even hear the same word in a TikTok clip, maybe we should give each other a little grace.
Yes.
When it comes to some of the massive national issues facing our country. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about voting. But before that, another thing you will see while you're busy subscribing to my YouTube channel is I have a mug. What does the mug say, Shady?
My stand-up comedy special comes out November 17th.
Is it too fancy? I mean,
No,
I feel like I might have.
It's just enough.
I feel like I might have taken it too far with the design because we do have an Arial font here, which just, it's next level. And the line spacing. I didn't know if I put too much effort into designing it. It could have been all white. It's right. Yeah, I could have had nothing. I could have had a plain mug. So my stand-up comedy special comes out November 17th. It will be an Amazon Prime release. This is very, very exciting. And okay, another thing, I only admit this kind of thing on the podcast. I'm not going to say this on social media. Watch me pretend like I have it all together on social media. For you guys who follow me on Instagram, you need to follow me over there. Jennifer Fulweiler is my handle. I kind of seem like I have a plan, right? Like
a little, yeah.
Yeah. So I have been very busy. A lot going on this fall, and I don't fully have a plan because this release date has kind of snuck up on me. And some really important pre-release stuff that it doesn't have to do with you guys, but it has to do with where it's getting played on some major outlets. That all starts November 3rd. Anything else happening? Tuesday, November 3rd. So that's good. Everyone's going to be like, did you hear? Jen's comedy special? Did you hear? So look, this will be a nice palate cleanser for after the election, when your city is burning down and you and your family are making a retreat to a cave like the Von Trapps. They had to, people who had to, the Swiss Family Robinson, I don't know, people just who had to live very rustically because bad things were happening. Just make sure that you do escape to your bunker with a Wi-Fi enabled device so that you can check out my stand-up comedy special. It is called The Naughty Corner. It comes out November 17th. And by the way, we were talking last week about URLs. Someone in my Patreon was like, how about naughtycornercomedy.com? It's perfect.
Why didn't
perfect? I know, right. This is why I have a Patreon. So people can pay me to give me good ideas. This is exactly how the world should work.
Yes, it is.
So thank you. I want to say the gentleman's name was John, I think. Thank you to John, or I might be misremembering your name, on Patreon. I actually think entirely thanks to your suggestion, it will be naughtycornercomedy.com. And Shady and I didn't. So I guess we'll just have to go back to the Patreon.
We just called John for all of our questions.
For all of our ideas. Now, here, let's talk about, look, this is why, okay, now, but just so you know, I keep forgetting that I'm wearing a banana outfit. So now, I'm sorry. Hot dog. So things are going really well. I don't even know what I'm dressed up as. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to stick. So I've been informed by celebrity culture that you can't tell people to vote unless you're wearing something ridiculous. Shady, did you hear about the celebrities who got naked
Yeah, I've
to
been
tell
seeing
people to
that.
vote? Yeah, and it's like, but what I want to know, I mean, it's a lot of, it takes a lot of effort to film that kind of thing. So presumably, can you get this tape started? Presumably, they thought it would be effective. I want to say she caught that. So excellent job by us. Presumably, they thought it would be effective. And usually, if you're going to produce, I have a background in advertising. If you're going to produce something like that, maybe you've done some market research that will show you that this ad campaign that you're going to run will be effective. So I want to know who was in the focus group, who was like, I think I'm going to vote. But could I see Chris Rock naked? That would cinch the deal for me. And Amy Schumer, if we could get her to rip off her clothes, put that phone on selfie mode, you can throw it. Put that phone on selfie mode and just be naked and tell me to vote. That's what I'm looking for.
That's what I need.
To be inspired to my civic duty. And you know what it's not? You know what it's not? This is what the person in the focus group must have said. The men and women who died horrible deaths in the wars, like my grandfather was a World War II veteran, a Bronze Star recipient. And so, all the men and women who just died these miserable deaths fighting for, okay, so we can't get, the tape is not working.
I couldn't.
All of these men and women who died horrible deaths trying to preserve our right for freedom. That's not doing it for me. That's not, that's not that compelling, but seeing Amy Schumer's bare rear end, that's when I'm like, I'm getting to the polls, because men and women giving everything so that I might be free and be able to vote, meh,
Whatever.
naked celebrities.
Show me your abs, okay?
Right, yeah. I thought you were going to say something else. Yeah, that's what I want, to be inspired to vote. Okay, we've come through. We have a better tape situation now. So here we go. So you probably, I think this looks pretty good,
Yeah, I
right?
like it.
So you probably weren't going to vote, but now that you're like, well, there is a woman dressed like a hot dog, and she does have a poorly written vote sign taped to her chest with duct tape after the blue electrical tape, which she found in her garage and is evidently 20 years old, didn't work. That, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to get out there, right?
That gets me up on that.
Here's the thing with all of these vote messages. Everyone's like, this is the election of our lives. This is the election of our lives. Is it, though? Is it? And I'm going to get so much flack for this. I know that everyone's going to come down on me so hard. Jen, you don't understand. But I feel like they're looking at two different candidates than I am. This would be the election of our lives if we could actually solve some of these issues. Like if we get one guy who will absolutely solve racism once and for all, that would be the election of our lives. But are either of these candidates going to solve it? And then the other thing is, with making this into such an enormous issue, when you vote, a lot of what matters in modern voting is is elections at the state and local level. That's where you can really start to have an impact by changing your city, by changing your state. Now, Shady, what do you think? If we were to poll people going into the voting stations and say, who is your current state representative? Who is your current federal representative? How many people?
I don't think half the people would
right,
know. No.
right. And so, look, if you want to, if you want to tell people to vote, maybe I could add to my little sign, vote, but. This is God being like, stop talking about voting, Jen. Maybe I could add to my little voting sign, but pay particular focus to like your city council, like the school board elections, to your state and local elections. And look, here's why I am opposed to all of this naked voting. This is the election of our lives hysteria. Yes, it's important to vote, But I would like to see much more prosaic messaging. I would like to see voting being talked about like flossing.
Yeah.
You know, we should, not the dance, but your teeth.
Yeah, your teeth.
Yes, we should do it. Of course, it's important. But all of this hysteria about this is the election of our lives. This, you know what I think it is? We want this to be the election of our lives. I think that we get so wound up acting like if we can just vote this one guy into office or keep this guy in office or get this guy out of office or whatever, with all the stress we're under with coronavirus, I think we almost want to believe that if we can just get our friends and family to vote a certain way and we can influence the election at the presidential level, because let's face it, none of these people are talking about state and local elections when they're getting naked and filming themselves on selfie mode and telling you to vote. I think we wish it were that easy. Because you know what? It's like we want it to be like, I don't even have to be informed about my state rep. Like, I don't even have to know his or her name. Because that would be a lot. And like, I'm trying to work on my TikTok dances. And I really don't have time to like know my city council members' names, like school board, schmool board. I just have to focus on one election. And I have to choose between these two guys, 3 if you count Kanye. And if we can just get the one guy who I've decided is evil not to win, and then the guy who I've decided is really good to win, then presto. Good. The economy is going to be amazing. Racism will be gone. Coronavirus, it'll disappear because this guy will wave his magic wand. So we want that to be the case. We want it to be that simple, that you can focus on just the presidential election and then everything's going to change and everything's going to be fine. And obviously it matters, but did having a Black president for the better part of a decade, did that solve racism? I think we wish that it were as simple as influencing the outcome of one election, because that would make life easy. That would make life simple. And the greatest thing about it, and this applies to me too, I see this psychology with myself, is it puts no obligation on us. If you can just put the sign out in your yard, that's me hammering a sign into the yard, for your candidate, and harass your family members on Facebook enough about it. Did you see the viral video about the girl whose dad was dying? He was dying. And she said, you can look this up, just Google it. Her dad was dying and she held up cards. It was a TikTok about how he was voting the wrong way. And in so many words, she kind of withheld her love from him until he agreed to vote for her candidate.
What?
And then she was like, be like my dad, vote for, and I won't even say what side she was on and what side he was on, because it doesn't matter. That's the point is.
How could you be so crazy?
I know that is how seriously people are taking these elections, that they're like, hey, father of mine,
dying.
You're dying. Let's talk about your vote. That's really what matters. Like, I can't imagine, as you guys know, my dad died about a year ago and it was sudden, but I can't imagine being like, Dad, I know, we only have weeks left before you're out of my life forever. But, could we talk about Biden and Trump? And I just want to make sure you're voting the right way. I cannot.
Right.
I truly cannot imagine. But that's the mania that everyone is whipped into. And I think that we get so worked into a frenzy about this, because if it is true that just getting the right outcome to the presidential election fixes everything, then we don't have to do anything. You don't have to work toward any sort of change in your personal life, because the president will just take care of that. And what if our country has a lot bigger problems than can be fixed with a presidential election? And I honestly think that the best thing we can do is vote and maybe read up a little more on your state and local elections. And I can't say that I did a great job with that. Can I admit that I just asked my husband who to vote for? I shouldn't say that, right? No, I spent hours, Shady, poring over the books about who my state rep is. I did not, because my husband's obsessed with stuff like this, and I trust him. And so, no, I didn't just be like, Joe, tell me who to vote for. I would not do that because that's not what the suffragettes fought for. So if I could tell people one thing, it would be yes, vote. But you know what I wish people would do? There is this book by this woman, Jen Schmidt, and I'm not getting affiliate credit for this. I mean, Lord, look at me. You think anyone wants to be associated with this podcast? Do you notice that I never do ad reads? In every other podcast, it's like, all right, let's take a break. This is sponsored by the Golden Flask Company. Like, notice I never do ad reads. Nobody wants to be associated with this podcast. So I assure you that Jen Schmidt did not put me up to this. And if anything, instead of a commission, I will be getting a cease and desist letter. She has a book. It's called Just Open the Door. It's lovely. And it changed my life because it's a short, super easy book. And it changed my life because she talks about the idea of just invite people over and just make hospitality a part of your regular routine. Even if you're like me, I'm super, super introverted. This does not come naturally to me. My house is always a disaster. I mean, one time we had some very like kind of church hierarchy, like high up guests at my house. And I'm just so spacey. My youngest was potty training at the time. And I forgot to empty the potty chair. And I'd been in the kitchen. And so we walk into the living room and it just right there, right? Just, you know what's in potty chair, just right there. But it was still a great evening of fellowship and camaraderie. And it was lovely. So I wish everyone would vote, but like, go read that book, Just Open the Door, get inspired to bring hospitality into your home. And look, if you've got a street where one yard has a Blue Lives Matter sign, another yard has a Black Lives Matter sign, invite both of those neighbors over for dinner and be like, let's just have a beer. And like, we don't have to talk about the big issues. Let's barbecue. Yeah. Let's have a beer. Let's hang out. Because here's the thing, as I feel uniquely qualified to talk about this because I'm laughing because more cars are driving by and staring at me. I feel uniquely qualified to talk about this because I come from a drastically different world than the one that I live in. I'm not just Catholic, you guys. I am, we can combine. I am queen of the, okay, we're combining too many. I'm not just Catholic. I am so deep in the Catholic world. I am like queen of the weird Catholics. I mean, in my circles, it is common to have people get in vicious arguments over what kind of mass is the best kind of mass. Like, we can't even agree that going to church on Sunday and going to Catholic mass on Sunday is a great thing to do. It's like we have to argue about which kind of mass you go to. So I am deep, deep in deep Catholic circles, but I come from like deep atheist circles. People who were raised atheists like me, never believed in God, never went to church service. Like I never, like my parents and I never went to a church service. They never took me to church. Like that was not part of our lives. So I come from two very different worlds. And I have had parties where it's like the Latin Mass, super trad Catholic standing next to this, professor of nuclear physics who's like a super atheist and is like involved in the atheist club or whatever. And what I find is when you simply socialize with people who have wildly different opinions, it doesn't necessarily change people's minds, but it does humanize the other side. And it does help you see nuance. And so, for example, if you have one idea about healthcare and you think that someone else who has this other idea about healthcare, it's a horrible idea, it's going to bankrupt our country, it's going to be terrible, you probably won't change your mind going to a barbecue and playing some backyard badminton with that person. But you might say, that guy who has this other idea, he's a good dude. He's a good guy. And, I don't agree with him, but I kind of see where he's coming from now. And then if we have that kind of culture in this country, then we can actually start to work towards solutions in peace. We can start to get on the same page with one another. And that is what our country needs. But we'll never get there as long as people are painting it like this is the election of our lives, meaning This is a battle between good and evil. I see that every 5 seconds on Twitter and on Facebook. This is a battle of good and evil. And interestingly, the person writing it always just so happens to be on the side of good, but they're voting for candidate A. And then the next person in the feed also says it's a battle of good and evil, also says they're on the side of good, but then they're voting for candidate B. As long as we have this culture of I'm purely good and you're purely evil, we will never get on the same page about anything. And you're going to, I really think that we're going to start to see a lot of our systems collapsing, our systems of changing laws. And this whole country was built on a system where we can get together to work things out in a peaceful way. But if everyone's convinced that the other side is so purely evil that they must be taken down at all costs, that is a very dangerous kind of country to live in. So take it from the banana. Vote, but then focus a little bit on just hospitality and focus on how can I just watching a hot dog.
I'm sorry.
Listen, if you're listening to the audio only version of this, I just cannot emphasize how much you need to see.
I can barely breathe that.
It's the full experience. What was I saying? Oh yeah, social media. This day and age of social media, it makes it easy for us all to ghettoize ourselves, meaning we live in this little world where everyone agrees with one another. And that's why, notice this. This is an interesting observation. This is the final thing I'll say before I move on to, there's one more, sexy tree costumes. So don't worry, never you fear, we will get to that. Notice that before social media, so when did kind of everyone start getting on Facebook? I mean, it was public in 2006, but let's say 2010 is when the average person was starting to be active on social media. Notice that there is much more of this good and evil talk, this very binary, my side is purely good, your side is purely bad thinking. Notice this has gotten much more kicked up in the day and age of social media. Obviously, we still fought all the time and we were still being melodramatic about everything before social media. But I think that one of the things that social media does is it allows all of us to have the vast majority of our daily communication take place in an echo chamber where everyone agrees with us. And then that lets your own ideology start to get very entrenched and solidified. And then if you're just never hearing from people who disagree with you because you've muted or unfollowed them all, you really do start to believe there's just no better points than the ones I have, that my side is we just have it all figured out and everyone else is wrong. Whereas in the normal course of things, when you're mixing with people who have different ideas, you just naturally see more nuance. You're naturally more understanding of other people. So I really believe it's the social media echo chamber that has ghettoized us all, that has made us all just start to have much less exposure to opposing viewpoints. And I think it's really dangerous. And I think we all need to focus as much on just being friends and hanging out with people who have diametrically opposed views as we do on fighting for our own causes. Now, Shady, we're going on to talk about, I was going to take off this costume, but maybe I just leave it on because we're going to talk about costumes. Okay,
well leave it
so
on.
I'll take off this looked nice. I think this is pretty high quality.
Nailed it.
All right, I was going to dress like this only to talk about voting, to parody the naked celebrities, but you know what, this is the hot dog episode.
We've made it this far.
All right, here we go. Sexy costumes. This is just one of the most enchanting parts of this year. Again, if you're watching this after Halloween, it still applies. These are universal truths about human nature that we will be talking about here. Now, Shady, I wonder, is there any costume that is so ridiculous that there's not a sexy version of it? So let's try. Okay, sexy tree. Okay,
yeah.
Surely. But there is. Sexy Christmas tree. Look at this. This is. Oh no. Okay, never. Clothes. Oh my God, girl, put on your clothes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Can you think, like, what is something I'm going to make a point about sexy costumes, but I want to challenge ourselves.
Okay, so let's
to see if
what should really just not be
they
sexy?
like there should not be a sexy version of this.
Sexy foot.
There's okay, now there can't be there no. Okay, what do you let's take a bet. Do you think
I think that there could be
I think there's no way.
Okay.
I think there sexy foot.
Costume?
There's football. There's look at the ladies, have some self-respect. Okay, let me do an image search. Well, it's all okay. There's a foot costume. I think that's sexy.
No, that is.
I think yeah. I think that's pretty sexy. It's $75. Okay, I'll go for one. I had a note here. Here's one with Amy Coney Barrett. Sexy judge. Surely we have some respect for our institutions. Surely there's not a sexy, but you know that, oh yeah. Look at this. Look, ladies, okay, we're going to come back to this. Shady. What is wrong with our fellow womankind? And notice it's all women. This is part of the point there's not, look, I don't see some beefcake dude. Yeah. Oh, well. Shady. There is a sexy priest costume.
You've never seen that?
Look. No, well, I've never seen it like this. This guy has it's like unbuttoned,
Oh no.
Look, as a Catholic, I'm burning it down. We're burning down the society. We're starting over. Okay, what is one more costume that a sexy version of it should not exist?
Corn on a cob.
There's no way.
Okay, that I'm going to say there's not. That's just too stupid.
Sexy corn on a cob. Why not?
Corn on the cob costume. Moment of truth. Okay, that's it. Time to burn it down because there is.
Oh no!
Because there is. Shady. There is. Audio listeners, it's like a little tight little halter top with the cob part and then this little short skirt.
As a husk?
Is the leaf. Now, I am dressed like a sexy hot dog. In my defense.
True.
This is pretty sexy.
True.
This is sexy.
Looking like a snack.
Looking like a snack.
Whole entree over there.
Final one. Sexy Harambe. There's no...
I found sexy hamburglar.
No, you did not.
I did.
Sexy... And I promise you guys I'm getting to a point. Just hang on. Burglar. No.
You want
Shut up! This is ruining my entire... Western civilization, you are ruining my entire childhood. Sexy hamburglar. And again, she's wearing thigh-high stockings.
Hold on, this one's funny.
No!
This one's called the astronauty. It's a sexy astronaut.
There is not a sexy astronaut. Yeah, I have 4 daughters. I'll be, hey, what do you want to be? Why don't you be a sexy astronaut? You know, what, like, and so, you might die in space because you have on, your sex. Oh, come on. How could, look.
She would explode so quick.
Yeah, right. Because that's what happens when you're in the vacuum of space and you don't have the pressure. When you don't have atmospheric pressure, you explode. This chick is going to explode in her little thigh high.
Yeah, look at her.
This is ridiculous. I went to space camp as a teen, and there were cute boys there, and I just didn't know how hideous, because you wear actual astronaut gear, and I remember thinking well,
oh no,
I can't go into space then, because this is this makes my stomach look so fat, this whole outfit thing. So that is why I'm not an astronaut, because it wasn't sexy enough. But this is ridiculous. I mean, I just wanted something that was flattering. This whole little thigh-high.
Astronaut.
Again, I'm putting pictures of this on YouTube, so you audio listeners. Shady.
What happened?
I just found sexy Ronald McDonald.
Shut
I can't. You guys, look.
How could that even be sexy?
It's time to let the Muslims take over. It's, let's get Trump, Biden. You know what? I want to write in an imam. And I want Sharia law. And I'm not Muslim, and I think that there's some issues with countries that are run as a Muslim theocracy. But have we tried it? We've tried doing this vague, watered down Judeo-Christian tradition. And what did it get us? It got us sexy Ronald McDonald costumes. Now, I'm going to search for Sexy Harambe. Oh, was that like a suggested you were doing Harambe and it's like, Did you mean hamburger?
Yeah, that's what it did.
If there is a Sexy Harambe costume, I am openly going to support a Muslim theocracy in this, and not like the liberal Muslims either. Like it's just, I will wear a burqa to stop this. This is my burqa. This could work.
That could be a burqa.
Harambe.
I think that they have one.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, they do.
It has a banana purse.
And it has a banana purse. This chick is wearing, so it's like, Playboy model looking girl. She has a banana purse. And this is the gorilla who, of course, was shot
tragically
because a kid went in his cage. And all the animal rights people were like, he was murdered. Like it. So, and she has these gorilla boots, but she still has to show off her body. So they only go up to like the mid-thigh.
Mid-thigh.
So, okay, well, that's enough of that. So you know who called this? So Pope Paul VI wrote an encyclical called Humanovite. And what's interesting is that, so this is a historic encyclical, and it's talking about the Catholic view of sexuality and all that. What's funny is that for the 50th anniversary, I think, of its release, there was a book that was published on it, and I wrote the afterword for it. So it's like Humanovite, this huge thing, and then officially my name is on there for the afterword. But if you search Amazon for my books, Humanovite comes up as one of them, this like massive, super philosophical encyclical. And so I bet there are some people who don't know. They're like, it seems like Humanovite, she did a pretty good job with that one. I really like, some of it was a little weird, some of the theology but I thought it was like, she did One Beautiful Dream, Your Blue Flame, Humanovite. So in that document, he was like, look, if you guys keep being crazy with sex, I'm reading directly from the document here. If you guys want to keep getting your freak on, this is not going to be good for women, because we're going to usher in a culture in which everyone starts to see women through the eyes of lustful men, even the way women see themselves. We're going to have this culture where women start to believe that their only value is in their sexiness and in how they look. And you see this at Halloween. Like, we still have enough of a sense that, maybe it's not in keeping with your human dignity to let it all hang out. But then women get around it on Halloween. They're like, ha ha, it's just a costume. Harambe, what a card he was. I want to honor his memory. So, what? Oh, is it sexy? Oh, are these thigh-high fishnets that I have? I think Harambe would have loved my thigh-high fishnets. Do you not see my banana purse? We're just having fun. We're having fun. This isn't about being sexy. Look, ladies, I know I played the game. Like, I know I was like a sexy vampire. I wasn't even that creative. When I was Halloween, when I was 21, I was a sexy vampire, which was such a ploy to get attention. Just so like everyone saw through what I was doing. Anyway, but that's because we live in a culture where women start to assimilate through cultural osmosis. They start to believe this idea that they're immersed in, that their only value really at the end of the day is their sexiness. And look, culture before the 1960s sexual revolution, that culture had its problems. It had a ton of problems. There was less of a mania on the part of women to let it hang out all the time. And of course, it was always there, because it's a power play when women let it all hang out and get attention in that way. So it's always been there. It's human nature to some extent. But what you do see post-sexual revolution is an idea that is very much entrenched in the culture that women are only as valuable as they are sexy. I have had multiple conversations in my life with women, 10 at least, but probably more, where they said they were specifically choosing either not to have kids or not to have more kids because of the aesthetic impact it would have on their bodies. And like sole reason. I don't judge anyone for, I mean, I know, you know, when and how to have kids and all that. That's a super personal choice. I'm not judging that generally, but to say the only reason, 100% of the reason is because I might get some extra stretch marks. Well, that's the sign of a woman who has been taught to believe that she is simply less valuable if she is less sexy. She sees a one-to-one correlation between whether or not a man wants to see her as a sex object and whether or not she's worthy of life. I promise you that mentality is out there. And you see that with the Sexy Harambe, sexy everything costumes that women are like, oh, it's a medieval themed costume. Okay, I'll be a sexy sorcerer. I'll be a sexy gypsy, because they're like, I have to let people know I'm sexy because otherwise I'm not worthy of life. That's out there. It's because of the sexual revolution. And as women, we need to reject this, and we need to make sure our daughters understand to reject this, that, you know, don't just want to be an astronaut. Don't try to be a sexy astronaut. Like you need to understand that your value does not change at all, whether you weigh 100 pounds or 300 pounds, whether you have perfect skin or you have acne. That touches your value not at all. And so many women in this culture do not understand that. So, I need you to know, I keep forgetting that I am dressed like this. So, I'm seriously sitting there like, why Shady doesn't seem to be taking me seriously today, and I cannot figure out why. And I deserve some sort of medal for this episode, because the whole time I've been doing this hot take orama, we have had cars driving by and slowing down, and I see people looking at me like, and I've just been ignoring it and just looking into the camera and, you know, making my points. So this is a very, I deserve some sort of credit for this. So I think so let's see if did my hair hold up? All right. Don't forget that we have, this looks actually weirder. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna, don't forget.
I like it like that.
Don't forget. Weekly episodes available on Patreon. I'm having so much fun. More fun than this even. On Patreon. Patreon.com/thisisjen. Be sure you are following me on Instagram. Jennifer Forweiler is my handle over there. And I will be back next week with episode 44. Well, whatever. I'll be back next week here on This Is Jen.